Good afternoon and welcome to today's Planning Committee. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting the public can attend. I'm Councillor Susan Durant, Chair of the Planning Committee. Before we commence, I'd like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We're not expecting a fire practice today. If the alarm sounds, please leave the building by way of the fire exit through the doors at the rear of the chamber on my right. When you have left the chamber, proceed down the stairway and exit through the emergency exit on the ground floor. If there is anybody with mobility issues, please wait in the refuge area at the top of the stairs where the emergency evacuation lift is located, and use the intercom situated to the left-hand side of the lift doors to call for assistance. The designated assembly point is in the public square in front of CAS beyond the fountain. I'd like to inform members of the public and press that today's meeting will be audio-visually recorded. And by entering the council chamber, you accept that you will be recorded and your images retained and broadcast by the council on its website and on YouTube. If anyone intends to record or film any part of today's meeting, please ensure that it does not disturb the conduct of the meeting and you only focus on recording those people participating. Please ensure that your mobile phones are switched to silent mode. May I remind anyone speaking in the meeting that you will need to press the large red button underneath the microphone and ensure the red light is illuminated, and this will ensure that you are recorded. The meeting is proceeding today on the basis that all members of the committee have read their agenda papers thoroughly and are aware of what they will be considering. If any member of the committee leave the chamber during consideration of an application, they should ensure they do not take part in the vote on their return, as they will not have heard all the relevant information on that particular item. Thank you. Item 1, we've got apologies for absence. We've got apologies from Councillor Sophie Lowe and for Councillor Emma Muddiman-Rawlins as well. Do we have any other apologies? Councillor Gary Stapleton. Okay, thank you for that. Item 2 is the exclusion of the public and press. There are no exempt items on today's agenda. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest, please? No, thank you. Item 4 is the minutes of the Planning Committee meeting that was held on the 28th of May 2024. Can these be moved as a true and accurate record? Is that seconded? And is that agreed? Thank you. Okay, item 5. Is planning application 23/02522/FUL, which is conversion of existing dwelling to 5 number 1 bed HMO units total and conversion of garage to ancillary use, bike store and co-working space at 18 Lifford Road, Wheatley. Mark Ramsey is the planning case officer and he will be introducing this item.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everybody. This application relates to an existing house at 18 Lifford Road in Wheatley. Proposals to convert this to a house of multiple occupation with 5 one-bed units and conversion of an outbuilding to use as ancillary to the dwelling for use as a bike store and co-working space. The proposal does not include dedicated parking spaces for occupiers, and all parking provision on Lifford Road is provided on street in spaces that are covered either by a time limit or is used by holders of a local North Wheatley parking permit. An application for extending the building and converting the outbuilding to residential accommodation to form a larger HMO for more occupiers, which is a total of 7, was refused earlier this year. Lifford Road has a uniform character consisting of 2-storey terrace housing, many of the properties constructed from red brick. All the properties have bay windows to the front, ground level, and some of the dwellings have extended into the roof space. Most of the properties on the same side of Lifford Road have small courtyard gardens to the front. The application site is at the end of a terrace, and there is a footway alongside the property which serves to provide external access to the rear garden. There's also an alleyway to the rear of the property and a path down the side of the outbuildings provides secure access from the rear garden. This proposal only seeks to convert the existing building and has been further amended since its original submission to satisfy consultee concerns by changes to the internal layout to achieve minimum bedroom sizes and no longer seeks to provide living accommodation in the outbuilding. No external alterations are proposed to the property. This application has been advertised by way of site notice and direct neighbour notification letters. Matters raised in correspondence include issues of noise, amenity space, parking, drainage, loss of family home, storage of waste and generation of litter. Main issues considering this application are the principle of this type of development, issues of amenity for both residents and neighbours and parking. The application is washed over by a residential policy area, and policy 10 of the Doncaster local plan supports residential development in principle, providing it doesn't adversely affect the character of the area or is detrimental to the neighbouring properties through excessive overshadowing, dominance and loss of privacy. It's important to highlight that local and national planning policy promotes that there is a housing mix to support a variety of market demand and to support different needs within the community. Policy 9 of the local plan also sets out key standards and strict criteria in relation to the development of houses in multiple occupation. Proposals for HMOs will be supported in circumstances which provide adequate living standards, communal areas, sufficient accommodation for the number of residents, that they're capable of conversion without harming amenities of neighbouring residents and not an over-concentration within a locality. Sites are located within the Article 4 direction area, which removes the permitted development right to change use of the dwelling houses to small HMOs, classed without the need for planning permission. This applies to Hexthorpe and Town wards, respectively. Use class C4 is a dwelling house used as an HMO for up to 6 people, and should permission be granted, that's what this would fall within. As this proposal relates to use of the building as an HMO up to 5 occupants, it would have been permitted development in other parts of the borough where the direction does not apply, and also buildings converted prior to October 19th before the direction came into force. The existence of the Article 4 direction does not afford a blanket prevention of the creation of HMOs, but rather that planning permission from the local authority is first required, requiring an assessment against the relevant policies in the local plan. The application of Policy 9 seeks to ensure that there's good soundproofing, privacy, outlook, light ventilation, and developments have good communal facilities. Policy 9 also specifically makes clear that proposals would not result in an over-concentration of HMOs or result in a significant adverse impact on local amenities. As you see it, subparagraph E, it limits the numbers of new HMOs through various restrictions, which include not allowing HMOs to be located next to each other, sandwiching other properties between 2 HMOs and limiting the number in a limited portion of a street. In this case, no more than 2 could be in a stretch of 20 properties on the same side of the road. There's currently no other HMOs recorded on this road, and the concentration of HMOs in the surrounding area is low, especially when compared with parts of Wheatley to the north and closer to the town centre. The Article 4 direction and subsequent application of local plan policy would mean that no more than 1 other could be introduced on the same side of the street and 2 on the opposite side. There are comments in representation regarding other properties with small numbers of people sharing a house, and some of these are not required to apply for a licence. A check of records has also taken place to see if there's multiple council tax records for a property and any building regulation applications that may hint at other properties which might be being used as an HMO, but this isn't apparent from the checks I've made for properties surrounding this location. Following discussion with the EHO yesterday about the occurrence of complaints on surrounding streets, it's concluded that there isn't a particular excessive number of complaints and incidents recorded for issues such as domestic noise, waste, fly tipping and untidy gardens, and these are all at a relatively low level. particular site on Wentworth Road, which has been licensed as an HMO, has raised particular problems in the past, but that was largely because it was illegally occupied by squatters rather than its management as a licensed property, and this has since been secured and is currently empty. The existing parking provision is provided on street, and long-stay parking is controlled by the issuing of permits. As such, the proposal includes no dedicated parking spaces either on or off the street. The application site is in a sustainable location with good links to public transport, as well as being in walking distance to local amenities and facilities such as shops, doctors, dentists and the hospital. Given the type of accommodation, residents are less likely to have private transport, and given location and proximity to services and public transport, no objections were raised by the highways engineer. In Lifford Road itself, there are parking areas along each side of the carriageway with space for approximately 45 spaces and serves about 40 properties. Of these, 4 have direct access to off-street parking, and the alleyways provide access to rear garages of various properties, although it's not clear how many are being actively used for parking vehicles. The area is subject to a permitting scheme which allows residents to apply for a permit to park their car in the marked areas on Lifford Road and other streets in the Wheatley North parking permit area. The rules of the scheme allow vehicles that are registered to the occupant at the same address to be issued with a permit, and a block of 50 visitor permits can be purchased once each year for each property. It's not been possible to break down the number of permits issued solely to properties on Lifford Road. With these circumstances in mind, and given the sustainable nature of the area overall, the proposed development would not cause harm to highway safety or adversely affect the highway parking provision in the area. The proposed internal standards meet the requirements for licensing and, subject to the amended scheme, provides sufficient privacy, light, ventilation and communal facilities, with each bedroom meeting or exceeding the minimum 10 square metres that recommended in the local licensing policy. A scheme of noise insulation to the party wall will be required by a condition in the event of planning permission being granted, and ensure the same levels of noise mitigation is in place as would be found in a newly developed semi-detached house. There's over 75 square metres of external communal space at the rear of the outdoor circulation, for outdoor circulation for residents. The red line of the submitted location plan shows land behind the outbuilding is within the application site and could suitably accommodate bin storage, which would be looked after by a private contractor. Scheme would be required to show what arrangements are put in place for that to operate and form a condition of any approval. This also has the benefit of not reducing the garden area at the rear, and the outbuilding will also be used for bike storage and a co-worker area. Numbers of occupants are not dissimilar to that of a large family that might occupy such a building, especially as the roof space is already converted, and new bathrooms would connect into existing drainage systems. So in summary, the proposal represents an addition to the mix of housing available in the surrounding area. The standard of condition and amenity for potential residents meets the requirements of planning policy and be licensable. The proposal is in a sustainable location, and the impact on local highways is not severe. The impacts on adjacent occupiers and provision of waste storage can be dealt with through conditions requiring the details to be agreed with and put in place prior to the development coming into use. For these reasons, the proposal is recommended to be granted planning permission.
Thank you for that, Mark. We've got a Mr. Richard Maddox who's requested to speak in opposition to the application. This is now your opportunity to address the committee for up to 5 minutes. Please press the large red button when you want to speak, and press again to mute the microphone when you've concluded your submission, and I'll let you know when you've got 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee members, for once again being able to share the ongoing concerns of the development of 18 Lifford Road. From the onset, the concerns of the community and the residents of 20 Lifford Road has remained the same throughout all of the various planned submissions for what is simply a small end of terraced house. We've always believed that this is an overdevelopment of a terraced house, that it provides poor living conditions and does not meet requirements of Article 4, will have a negative impact on people's health, will increase the noise levels for local neighbours and create a loss of amenities for local residents, and create poor sanitary conditions, which is why, at the last planning meeting, the previous application was rejected. Since January 2023, it has been the developer's sole single focus on all occasions to maximise the amount of rentable units that can fit into the existing terrace house footprint. Today, the developer has proposed a design that will see the conversion of the existing small terrace house into 5 rentable units and a conversion of the existing garage into a co-working space. Despite the reduction in units, we continue to believe this is simply the wrong development for a quiet terrace street of families and elderly residents. At the council meeting on the 17th of October last year, Councillor Shaw articulated eloquently the issues around room sizes and the challenge between national planning regulations and Doncaster's own Article 4 guidelines. Many other councillors, including Councillor Cox, Beach, Stapleton, Hogarth and Lew, all noted many points, but underlined that the proposal should be at least meeting Doncaster Council's own Article 4, that the new development should add value, be improving living standards, enhancing communities and making Doncaster a better place. In the current plan, the developer has tried to address these issues by removing the bedroom from Unit 8 in the outbuilding and reducing the number of units in the terraced house by 2. To improve the size of Units 2 and 4, the developer has removed the ensuites and provided those units a shared bathroom. In our view, this has not improved the living conditions for these 2 units. If the occupant of Unit 2 is using the shared bathroom and the occupant of Unit 4 needs a toilet, where do they go? With all the designs, there has been long discussions around sustainability and the management of waste, yet still there is no clear plan of how the waste will be managed or located. Concerns have always been about the amount of available outdoor space, yet the new plan does not address this issue or increase any space as the outbuilding remains the same. With regards to the outbuilding, it's not clear what a co-working space is and what it will be used for. Why has the external design and entrance points and windows to the outbuilding remained the same as in previous plans? Why will it be so difficult to gain access to the bike storage, which will have to be negotiated through an external door and then immediately at a right angle through an internal door? Why does it not have its own direct access? There is a concern that the overall design has been left so it can be converted back to a living unit at a later stage through retrospective planning permission. Noise transfer between the proposed properties into 20 Lifford Road continues to be a concern with the elderly resident and will have a negative impact on their health. The adjoining wall still has 4 units directly attached, plus the new kitchen and living area. Overall, the community feels this is a conversion designed for income and not designed to create a better place or living conditions. Does sharing a bathroom and having no toilet improve standards? Does not knowing how waste will be stored and managed improve standards? Does providing minimum outdoor space improve standards? And does increasing noise for local neighbours improve standards and reducing parking facilities improve standards?
1 minute remaining.
We will, when we have the responsibility and a gift to add something to a community, it should be better, it should add value, and it should make Doncaster a better place. As a community, we still feel unclear how this proposal will add value for the local area and the tenants. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr Maddox. Do we have any committee members wishing to ask a question? Councillor Cox.
Thank you for what you've said. How would you see this developing that you'd find it acceptable? What would you want to see?
I think from the onset we've gone from 9 to 7 to 5 units, and the outbuilding at the end of the garage, which is a garage currently, which will in all plans has been converted, does seem to be something that is encroaching on either side of residents. It's in direct line view of 20 Lifford Road specifically, and also 16 Lifford Road. We can stand in the back bedroom of 20 Lifford Road and look directly into it here. So that the view of line is there, and that's a loss of privacy. I have no doubt that this will get converted. I agree that it's a 5-bedroom family house and we could have 5 people in it. But in reality, what we should be getting is something that's actually better. And by doing a shared bathroom, to me, doesn't seem better. And that just seems that the owner, the landlord or the tenant is trying to squeeze as much as he can revenue out of it. And I'm not daft enough to think that revenue needs to come out of it, but he's still trying to get as much into it. Yeah? And it's a terraced house, an adjoined wall. Four units are attached to that wall, and regardless of the soundproofing, it'll be argued that it's down to licensing. It'll be argued that waste is not a planning requirement. I understand that. But we should have all those in place before we grant any permission. We should know very clearly how it's going to be managed and how the owner or the landlord or the tenant is going to be managing it in the future.
Councillor Cox.
So there's really, you just don't want it as a HMO, do you? You'd rather just have it as a family home?
I understand that Doncaster needs different variations for people to get solutions for homes. Homes are difficult at the moment, and we all appreciate that as a community. You know, ultimately, is it HMO or is it a family house? We could have the same issues. By us having a HMO and then being in Article 4, we get benefits. I'm not daft enough to understand that. I get soundproofing. I get some ability to come back and challenge the person who owns the property if there is noise transfer and they're not being managed right. So HMO does provide us benefits. I am not against HMO. What I am against is that it's not clear how few things are going to be managed, such as waste. And what is a co-working space? What is that going to be physically used for? In my mind, the design and the plan has left it very much open to be come back and change retrospectively, which they can do, into another living. And then we're back to having more people in the actual property. It will grow. That's my concern in size.
Do we have any other questions? Councillor Hogarth.
You mentioned regarding the shared bathroom and toilet for units 2 and 4, but you could end up with, on that landing, 3 people, 2 maybe wanting to use a bathroom, 1 just coming downstairs, and you know I think it could be awkward situations when that happens, and there's not, you know, years and years ago they did used to have.
Do we have a question there, Charlie?
Yeah, what other problems can you see with regard to the sharing a bathroom and toilet?
I think we're in the modern day, we're in the 20th century, and it may be argued that it's not a planning requirement not to have shared bathrooms, but these are rentable units if that's the route we're going down. And surely in this modern day age, we should actually have your own private bathroom. If any of us want to go on holiday into a hotel or we rent somewhere, we all look for an ensuite. We're not sharing bathrooms, and that should be the same case here. And the only reason why it's a shared bathroom is because the designer has gone down to the minimum square footage that they can do to reach Article 4 for units 2 and 4, and the only way that's being achieved is by providing a shared bathroom.
Do we have any other questions for Councillor Mounsey?
Thank you, Chair. Bear with me because I'm new here. I'll make sure you get the question right. Please stop me if I'm there. But to Richard, thank you for coming. Nice to hear your point of view. And I'm sure there's other people in here from Lifford Road that would say the same as what you're saying. First of all, can I ask you a question? Are you aware that this is in a flood risk plain zone, zone 1?
No.
You're not aware? Why? Never been told?
Never been told.
On one of the things you say here, the question for it, insufficient parking. On Lifford Road, I think you put on both sides of the road, there'll be parking on both sides, am I right?
Correct.
Is it permit holding?
It is.
Yeah. And is there enough parking spaces to cover all?
No.
How short are we?
There was a site visit which was done on the second plan, on the first to go and have a look, which was done during the day. And at that stage, there would have been plenty of parking spaces. The issue is on a night. When people come back, return from work, we have a local resident in the gallery at the moment who had to drive way past her house right to the end of the road last night to actually find a parking space and drive around to do it. So put in, there's always been a concern since day one. When it was originally 9 tenants, they all could have a car. Then it got to 7. We're still proposing to potentially add 5 more parking permits to the area.
Further questions, Chair. I keep turning my pages over, bear with me. When you look at page 318, Chair, within this local plan, page 318, it says Appendix 6, parking standards. It's the first, second, third, fourth, fifth paragraph down. I'll read it out as quick as I can. Conversions of existing dwellings or non-residential into houses of multiple occupation, HMOs, can have the potential to increase the demand for parking in an area, particularly on street provision. Where planning permission is required, adequate park permission should be provided, taking account of the standards set below alongside guidance within the relevant supplementary planning documents. Would you say that is not in this case?
No.
Definitely not. The next question I've got, Chair, is, I don't know if it's, get me if I'm wrong here, Chair, but 9.42 on page 21, it mentions there that the highways officer, or the highway engineer came there. Did this officer, if it's the right question, Chair,
We go to a section after the questions where you can ask the officer questions, so you'll be able to do that then.
should
Councillor
say it
Mountson.
later? For later, yeah?
Yeah, please.
Okay. The other one is when you go to, bear with me, policy plan on page 59, page policy 9, yeah. External communal areas and facilities are of sufficient size and standard, satisfactory accommodation, waste and recycling. You mentioned that, is that a big problem, do you think? Waste recycling?
I think it is. If it's 5 individual units, the question is that there has been discussions
Councillor
that it will be.
Mountson,
Good, yeah.
this is a resident, is not the agent or anything like that, so some of your
Sure.
questions might be better put to the
Okay,
officer if the agent's not
I'll
here.
ask is the agent here?
No, we don't have representation from
If you
the
don't, why
agent,
not?
but we've got the officers here, so in the officers,
Could
we'll
an
go-
officer ask that?
we
answer
can
that
ask the
question?
officer, yeah.
Could I do it now?
No, when we
Later on.
finish this section, we'll go to the
Okay.
officers.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions for the residents?
Just one, Chair. The residents, you have a list here of a load of things there. General noise, pressure on the drainage, etc., and litter. But you also have a thing about, is there any serious or crime issues that you'd like to tell me about on the panel down there?
None to my knowledge, but it's an ungated alleyway and it's not secured, so it's free access down the back. There was concerns when the plans had gone through. Initially, the outbuilding had windows on the outside into the alleyway. That got changed, but it still doesn't remove the fact that in terms of the outbuilding, it is exposed, and in where they're going to place the waste bins, we don't currently know. Will that be in the alleyway or will that be actually in the yard itself? If it's in the alleyway, then we'd have a concern about, obviously, these bins in terms of bin waste. And
Mark Ramsey, could you put that picture of the back lane, please? Where it is, the back of that
Right.
property, please.
Councillor Mounsey, what we can do is these are the questions that need to be when we go into debate. So do you have actually questions for the residents? Because if not, I can ask other members if they have any questions. If not, then we can go to the debate with the officers.
But that picture when it's shown there, I'll ask a question of Mr. Richard, if you don't mind.
Yeah, but realistically, it should be the officer that should be answering the question regarding the position of the bins, etc. They will be best, because they're the one that's put this report forward to us.
I'll take your own, Chair. You want me to ask a question on that? I'll leave it till later.
We'll leave it for the next section. Do we have any direct questions?
No, that's it, Chair,
for Mr.
for now.
Do we have
Yeah.
any other? Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Maddox. Right, we're now going to go into the debate where we can actually ask the officer questions. So, Councillor Mountain, would you like to ask the officer your questions?
Yeah, this picture that you just had up earlier, Mark, on there at the back entrance. how secure is that entrance to there once it becomes an HMO to the standard that we've set, we require on a plan application for it to be? Because at the minute it looks, I could say, anybody can smash them doors in.
Okay, well, I mean, the proposal would be to brick up the back, and then there's a lock gate at the side which provides access into the garden.
Are you aware of the crime figures in that area on Lifford Road, especially the properties down there?
I'm not on crime figures, but I did speak to the environmental health officer yesterday, and didn't seem to be a particular issue in terms of high levels of antisocial behaviour and complaints, you know, regards of noise and waste and fly tipping. You know, the things that, you know, obviously come through the council.
How big a problem is the ASB and social behaviour down there? How big a problem is it, do you know?
As I said, it's seems to be very limited. The number of complaints over the last few years are particularly low. You know, even in comparison with other parts of Wheatley.
Yeah. And when the highways officer went to look at it, did he do a site visit on site?
The highways, I don't know if the highways officer's been to site, but I mean, he did provide a consultation response that they had no objections to it, and they were comfortable with the numbers of residents being reduced to 5 and the sustainable location of the site, so that we didn't need to apply you know, requirement for off-street parking.
Would you agree with me, sir, that on any plan application, or just this application here, but where it requires a highway engineer, it should go and have a report here? We haven't got one, have we?
Yeah, I mean, the highways officer provided a written response to the planning application, and so I've summarised that in your committee report.
Yeah, but, I'm not being funny through you, I'm not being funny, but an application like this, to me, it warrants at least a site visit by the highway engineer, whoever it is, get up there and look at that site.
I think the office is not, Councillor Mounty, I don't think the office is able to confirm whether they did an actual site visit, because he doesn't have that. All he can tell you is he's had a report done. So we can make a note that we would ask in future reports, would verify within that report if they've actually done a site visit. I'm just going to fetch Councillor Beeching, because she's been patiently waiting. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to fetch Councillor Beeching as well.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at page 25 in our report, the outbuilding plan. I'm mystified because I presume the right-hand side of the outbuilding pictured is the openings are all into the garden area. Yes. One says WC, one says store, but either side of it, it's got, so tiny, bike store for 6 bikes, but on the other side it says co-working space. Now, is it both? Is it either? Neither. And then you've got the third piece with just 3 doorways in it. So is that going to be open space, or because there's, looking at the back picture, you've got an entrance, haven't you, into the back garden, and then you've got 3 what used to be garages or whatever. So exactly which is what and.
Okay, the openings are facing into the garden. The picture I had was facing into the alleyway. There would be they brick up the elevation that faces into the alleyway, and then divide up the space. Essentially, I think you might be able to see it a little bit better on the big screen. So the bike store on the left, co-working space on the right, and then a store and toilet accessible from the co-working space as well, and a sort of lobby at the entrance. So you'd either go into the base, into the bike store, or the co-working space.
I'm still a bit mystified because the middle one says store, then there's the word in either side of it. So
yeah, the doorways. The doorway for the store faces into the co-working space.
Yeah, I see. And the bricking up, when you put on the screen the picture of the sort of three rotten gateways or doorways or whatever,
Yeah.
are all three to be bricked up?
Yes.
All three of
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah, that would just be a brick elevation.
So anybody
across-
who is cycling will have to come round the back and in that little side gate.
Yeah, they'd have to come through the gate and then.
But all three will be bricked up.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's for security. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's more
I
secure.
see. Okay,
If you're coming in
that's
through
sorted my question. Thank
if you're
you.
bringing the bike in through the gate,
Thank you.
or for that matter from the front, so it is an end terrace, so there's still access down the side of the house into the back garden.
Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Do we know? I mean, it seems to me that the outbuilding is the bugbear of all this development. What it could potentially turn into, or what even it is now. Do we know if, or have you had the conversation with the developer in demolishing the back building, replacing it with gates, fixing a bike stand on there, and it would also give somewhere for a bin to be stored within that backyard and more outside space? Have you had the conversation, Matt?
Had some conversation with them. Not about demolishing the outbuilding. I mean, as for what it can be used for, I mean, there is a condition on the permission that says it's restricted to uses incidental to the main dwelling house, so it's not going to be, so they'd need to come back to us for permission if, for instance, they wanted to use it for anything else. So it can't automatically become living space or what have you. If they if they want to expand the garden space and knock the outbuilding down, they can come back to us with a further application. I mean, I don't anticipate that would present too many issues, but this is the application they've put in, and what we've been considering.
I've got Councillor Cox and then Councillor Hogarth.
Is there any way something, I know this application's been in and out and in and out, would there be any chance of maybe pausing this application, having that conversation with them, seeing if they would be willing to do that? Because that, to me, I mean, conversations with the resident there, that it would appear to me to be the only way forward at this point in time. If they're not willing to do that, then they're not, and we are where we are.
Emma.
Yeah, I think just to clarify what Mark mentioned just then around the fact that this is the proposal that's been presented to us, so we're bound at this point to make the decision based on the plans that are before us, and with the condition in mind that we're proposing to make that element acceptable. There's always a chance that something else will happen in the future, but I think the important thing is that we need to make the decision as things stand at the moment. And what I would say is, you asked about what that building could be used for if this was a single house and remained so. You could effectively convert that and have that as an annex for a family member. That wouldn't need any planning permission from us. So there is some sort of argument to say that it could be brought into use and intensify the use of the single family house in any event. I think the conclusion we've come to in all respects is that subject to those conditions that we're proposing, the number of people residing in there not using the outbuilding for residential accommodation, all of those things considered, we've got to the point of being able to say to you that we think those previous grounds of refusal are overcome. And just, if I may, touch on a point that was made by Councillor Mounsey earlier about highways and the consideration of that aspect. That wasn't something that was part of the ground of refusal last time. So with the reduction in numbers this time, we wouldn't legitimately be able to argue that there was a highway impact now. So really it's about whether those 5 people residing in the house, considering that the outbuilding wouldn't be used for residential accommodation, overcomes that ground of refusal.
Before I fetch Councillor Charlie in, can I just ask for a little clarification? Mark, you said about incidental to the main dwelling for the co-working space. Obviously, depending on what sort of activity takes place in there, whether it does have any impact on the amenity and neighbours. So is there any way we can get a real clarification of what is intended? Again, because I think just to put a line on it, a label on it, leaves it very open. So I think we do need to look at how that is maybe conditioned or something further than rather than just incidental to the main dwelling, because I don't think there's any clear explanation at all as to what that could be used for. So that would be just one comment I would like to make, and I'll fetch Councillor Hogarth in.
Yeah, again, it's about the outbuilding. You can have a cycle storage, which people probably do a bit of maintenance on the bikes and all. Some of it may involve heat. And then working space, co-working space, they probably have meetings and what have you in here. The whole building, you've only got one means of in and out. So there's no, in the event of a fire, in the doorway area, there's no other way out. Is that something that, you know, we would like to see in our property, you know, in the Doncaster?
I think you find that the fire evacuation comes under licensing, so that's not something we can take under consideration at this moment in time.
And then again, on regarding units 2 and 4, you know, have they got to go, it's not clear, but have they got to go upstairs to the shared bathroom?
No, the shared bathroom is on the first floor. So that's available for units 2 and 4.
Yeah.
Unit 3 has its own bathroom, and on the second floor, the Unit 5 has its own bathroom at the other end of the attic. And then there's a doorway that they've put in at the bottom of the stairs, so that actually keeps, keeps that second floor essentially private from, so you're not having people sort of wandering up between the two, the two parts of the attic.
Yeah, it's just, I think one of the things in the local plan to get is about high quality accommodation. Would you class where you're having a shared bathroom and toilet high quality? I don't think it meets the local plan on that criteria.
I think there's always a balance with that in terms of what the policy requires, what the licensing regime requires in terms of the floor space. We're now exceeding or meeting the thresholds there. So there always has to be a balance between providing homes that people can afford and can live in reasonably comfortably, and the high quality design aspect certainly comes into that. But I think now that we've got that reduction in the number of people, we've got to the point where the design, the floor standards are exceeded, and so we think that is an acceptable level of accommodation as a result. Just to pick up, Chair, on the point that you made about the outbuilding and the condition, if that's a thing that you're particularly concerned about, and I can see why, because you look at the floor plate and you can see quite easily how that would be very comfortably converted into a separate unit of accommodation, regardless of the fact we've got the condition saying that can't happen. To give you some more confidence about how that might be used going forward, we could amend that condition to require a scheme to come forward to propose how it would be used specifically, how it would be managed. So if it were a co-working space that people could use for meetings, would there be some sort of a booking system, how that would work in reality? But if we put the onus on the developer to provide us with a scheme, we can be confident about how that might be used in practical terms.
Councillor Cox and Councillor B.
If we did that, if that condition went on, yeah, lovely, but it would be, the permission would have been granted by that point, wouldn't it?
So what we can do is word the condition in such a way that keeps the the element of it can't be used as separate residential accommodation, and bolster it by saying, and insofar as it relates to the use of the communal working part of it, a scheme to demonstrate how that would function in it would be far better worded than that, but that would be the essence of it, so that we can be sure about how that would come forward.
Councillor Beach.
Thank you. Still on the same hobby horse. I notice in that outbuilding they've put in a WC and hand basin, which one thing is, where's it being plumbed to? Because it's nowhere near the bathrooms. I suppose the nearest is to the kitchen. But I just have misgivings about it. I mean, the workspace. I mean, it's all right if somebody's sitting there on a computer, but then they've got to have the broadband and that in there. But not if somebody's doing some woodwork or metalwork or something like that. It wouldn't do at all. So if this should be passed, we certainly need to make a condition, as Chair suggested, that we restrict what it can be used for. Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor Anderson.
Could we stipulate a condition that co-working space is for office use or something along those lines, and make sure it is, a couple of people sat at desks and not a workshop or something along those lines? Is that feasible from a planning condition perspective?
That's a tricky one, because we have to look at the fact that this has got a residential use as it currently stands, and if a family were to reside in that house, they could use that building for a workshop, and the impacts wouldn't be any different. So I think it's more about how it's managed with 5 independent people living there, and potentially using that space independently of each other at any one time, that we need to be thinking about, because if that were to be brought back into use as a family home, you could have all sorts of tinkering going in there day to day, and there wouldn't be any control over it.
Do we have any more questions to officers? Councillor Cox.
Where's the bin going to go?
Okay, well, we've got a condition requiring a management scheme to be put in place before the building can be occupied. As I said in my report, the area behind the outbuilding is in their control. So if it was one sort of large 4-wheeled bin, it could be located there. If it's a smaller bin, again, smaller bins could also go there without denuding the space in the garden. But it would be a case that we'd, have a scheme put forward by the developer, and us, agreeing whether we, accept it or more work's needed before we actually, grant that condition, and then they can occupy the place.
Just before I fetch Councillor Cox in, based on what Councillor Cox said in the response, one of the reasons we have a planning committee is to discuss the application. Therefore, when we're questioning about the bin storage and things like that, that information should be available so that it can help us in reaching that decision. So we've got 5 people looking at living in this as a HMO, but we haven't got any information relating to the type of bin, the number of bins and the location of bin, and that decision to be made depending on the outcome of this decision, when realistically it's been raised as a concern within this committee. I'm just going to make that point then. Back to you, Councillor Cox.
Thank you. I was going to say that, Chair. But, I mean, personally, I can't support this application due to issues that you've just said, Chair. Lack of clarity over what the outbuilding is or would be, and I can't support it. I'm sorry.
Do we have anyone else wishing to make a comment?
Chair, I wonder if I could just come in, because I do feel that there is, I know it's been before, but I get the impression from members that it's this clarity that is required on both bin store and what the outbuilding's being used for. And even if we were to condition the outbuilding for certain uses, it may be that that's not something the applicant was happy with. So I do wonder if members might consider deferring it in order to seek clarification on those important issues that members were concerned about. Sorry about the voice. It's coming back. So,
Thank you for that,
yeah.
Alison. I'll just fetch Charlie.
Yeah, can I also, I've still got concerns regarding the shared bathroom and toilet. I don't think, that's modern, which the local plan, high quality, it's not high quality or even quality. So, the local plan does refer to quality and whatever, and there's no quality in having a shared bathroom and toilet for complete strangers.
I'd like to concur with that as well, Councillor Hogarth. I find that if I wanted to live somewhere, I'd want my own bathroom facilities, and then you've got visitors as well, and I won't want to be cleaning somebody else's mess up and things like that. So I think that I fully understand and appreciate the efforts made to reduce the number to get the bedroom sizes. So there's a gain there, but I think there's a loss when you've got where you've got shared facilities. But I think Alison's made a really good point. I think that the panel are not wanting to say no, but they're not in a position to say yes because we need some clarity. Therefore, I'm happy to move that we defer this and seek clarity around the topics that we've discussed and the questions that we've raised to then come back to committee if someone's happy to second that proposal. Okay, and can we have a show of hands then of those in favour? And that's agreed. So therefore, this application will be deferred and clarity sought around the topics raised. Thank you. Application 2 is 24/00518/COU, which is a change of use from residential property class C3 to supported living accommodation class C2 at 52 Castle Avenue in Rosington. We have Nicola Howarth, who is the planning case officer, who will introduce this item. Please bear with us, we're just logging back into the system so we can get it up on the screen. While we're waiting, would members like a toilet break? Are you okay? Okay. It's 14:57, so if we say we resume back at 3:05. Right. Are we agreed then? Meet back 3:10. Don't be late. Is it agreed? Okay, everybody. It's just before 10:00, so are we all ready to resume the meeting? Thank you for the patience for getting everything back up and running. So over to you, Nicola, to present this report.
Thanks, Chair. Sorry about that. Right, this application is a change of use of a residential property to supported living accommodation at 52 Castle Avenue, Rossington. It's been presented to committee. There's been 7 objections to the scheme, neighbour objections. The concerns raised include increase in traffic, increase in on-street car parking, potential increase in noise and disturbance, and just general residential amenity impacts. The property will accommodate a maximum of 2 young adults aged 16 to 25 in a supported living situation. There will be 1 member of staff per shift, and there'll be 3 shifts over a 24-hour period. There'll be ad hoc visitors by specialists, but these will generally be between working hours. The application site is within a residential policy area in the local plan. Therefore, the principle of the development is accepted, subject to there being no adverse residential and environmental impacts. The site is located at the end of a cul-de-sac with residential properties surrounding and overlooking the site. There are 2 dedicated car parking spaces to the side. CDC Highways have raised no objections, and the provision of the 2 dedicated car parking spaces have been accepted. As you can see from the layout, the existing and proposed floor plans are the same. There'll be no changes internally or externally. 2 of the larger bedrooms, one of which has an ensuite, will be used by the young adults, and the other bedroom will be used as an office. Overall, the impacts of the development are considered no greater than a single household in terms of comings and goings. There may be a slight increase at times of day during shift changes, but this is not unacceptable. The detached style of the property, separation distances, secure garden area, and supervision by carers will help in reducing any impact upon residential amenity. It is recognised that there is already a C2 use on the street, and the applicants have updated their location risk assessment in consultation with the Council's Children's Commissioning Services, which is required by Ofsted. This sets out the measures that the home will take to reduce conflict and safeguard occupants. In addition, the South Yorkshire Design and Art Crime Officer has advised the installation of security measures, including CCTV and locks. They've also asked them to sign up to a memorandum of understanding related to missing children and young adults. This has been advised as an advisory. Overall, the proposal is not considered to lead to unacceptable harmful impacts upon residential amenity and is recommended for approval. I'll just show you the pictures. So that's the front of the property. There is an informal car parking space. There's the 2 dedicated car parking spaces at the side, and the bin storage area is next. That's the secure garden area. That's just some of the neighbourly properties. Again, that's just the side. That's the inner part. That's the front. That's the kitchen. The dining area, the lounge, the bathroom, that's the shared bathroom, that's bedroom 1, you can see there's a fitted wardrobe and bed, and there's a desk and chair. That's bedroom 2, it's got the same, and that's the 3rd bedroom, which is the office. And this property is number 1 Castle Avenue, which was granted permission in 2023 for a maximum of 3 children ages 8 to 18 years. And that's the end. Thank you.
Thank you for that. We've now got the applicant who has requested to speak in support of the application. Would you like to come down to the front? This is now your opportunity to address the committee for up to 5 minutes. Please press the large red button when you want to speak and press again to mute the microphone when you've conducted your submission. And I'll let you know when you've got 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Chair, and the committee for providing our organisation this opportunity to provide a response to our application. My name is Lily. I'm the registered manager for Pockets of Peace, which is a private company providing services in our communities from domiciliary care to supported living. I will read my response. As an organization, we are aware that the common theme in the objections raised by the residents in the area includes crime in relation to drugs, noise, and parking disruptions. Whilst our service is focusing on supporting underprivileged and vulnerable young people already residing in our communities, it is rather unfair to make assumptions, labels, or be judgmental about them. My understanding is the young people are coming from services already existing within our communities, such as foster homes and children's homes. Our home will be regulated by Ofsted to only house a maximum of 2 young people. This is within the normal or even less numbers a 3-bedroomed home would ordinarily accommodate. We are aware of another service likely to operate within the area. It is important to note that our service is not registered as a children's home, but supported accommodation for younger people with low-level needs, which is completely different from the other service registered in the street. Having said this, we will work closely and establish relationships with the staff from the other service in the street once they start operating to jointly manage any risks likely to come up with the 2 establishments as reflected in our local risk assessment. Our home will be staffed by 1 to 2 staff at any given time, with the 2 staff considered as the highest staffing capacity it can have at any given time, given the low level of needs for the young people we are going to support. In view of criminal activity, our staff will support the young people to positively integrate in the community and take away their focus on criminal activities. It is also biased to assume that criminal activities cannot already be a part of the existing community. We have completed a thorough risk assessment of the area and have taken on board the potential risks likely to be encountered and also considered ways to mitigate them. This includes the support and advice given by the local police, and our service will also establish good working relationships with the police officers covering the neighborhood. In summary, the issue about parking will not cause disruptions, as we do not at any given time expect to have more than
1 minute
2
remaining.
cars parked on the location. And this is within the parking capacity we already have. All professional meetings are to be conducted at our offices, which are based in Barnsley, therefore not causing disruptions to the neighborhood. Our goal is to eventually open an office in Doncaster once we start operating. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Do we have any questions? Councillor Cox.
Thank you. Have you run a facility like this for young people? No, I seem to think that you've run facilities for older people, but have you done anything like this before? Is it a new venture?
We've not done this before, as in running the capacity, the service ourselves, but our experience and background as the directors and managers for the service, we are social workers who've been extensively working with the same age group. So we are aware of the challenges that are potentially to come up as part of running this service. And already we've taken quite a lot of seminars, workshops, and we've been working closely with Ofsted in terms of the registration processes, the regulatory, the regulations that are going to govern us, and we've also started establishing relationships even with Doncaster Council and the local organizations that would potentially be supporting us in running this service.
Thank you. So previously then, I mean, this is it's a new venture. Really,
it is a new venture, yes.
What are the young people? The young people, yes, they're coming out of, I'm assuming from what you've said, they're coming out of foster care to be integrated, for want of a better word, back into community. Are these young people from Rosington only?
At this point, obviously we would be very much, our focus would be to serve the local community. However, we may be faced with situations where we may house children from probably out of area, but our main focus would be to support the local Doncaster community.
Yeah, I don't mind, but let's also remember this is a planning application, so we can't. Yeah, thank you.
I'm assuming that because you've worked with the council's policy is to bring people, to keep the kids in area, and I'm assuming you've already had that feedback.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Do we have any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much for your submission. Are there any questions to the officer? Councillor Cox?
Thank you. On bedroom 3, the staff bedroom, the small one, sorry. Yep. It's not going to have sleeping accommodation in it, is it?
Sorry about that. Yeah, the intention is that it's an office. Is the photograph?
Yeah, I can see. So really, it's an assumption that it's going to be kept as an office?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there's a statement within the report as well that states that the shift working pattern will be that nobody, so there's no staff sleeping as well. Do we have any other questions? Therefore, is there a proposal to grant planning permission subject to the conditions? Is there a mover for the recommendation? Councillor Hogarth, is there a seconder? Councillor Mounsey, can we have a show of hands in favour? That's 4. Those against? 1. Abstentions? 1. Therefore, permission is granted. Item 6 is appeal decision. This report is for information only. Do any members wish to speak on this item? No? Therefore, can I ask committee members to move that it be noted? Is that agreed?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you. With that, members, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the business at today's meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance and input, and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.